Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Randy Carricker Show without Randy Carricker. It's me, Brooke Grimsley, and today with Matthew Rocchio. And Sports Hub STL is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Thank you all for joining us this Wednesday as the Cardinals look to avoid the sweep. Rocchio, it's you and I today. Usually you're behind the scenes, sometimes in the bubble, but now today you're here front and center. How does this feel?
Second day in a row. Yeah, second day in a row. I'm sorry, everybody. No Randy Carricker today.
Sorry.
It's a Wednesday, which means we will not be doing Ask Uncle Randy. But as you know me, I'm always really down just to go on as many tangents as possible. So if you have an Ask Uncle Randy ask question while we're in the middle of a Cardinals or Blues segment, just throw it out there. Why not?
You can do that because if we should probably mention this. We were on a radio show once. I know that somebody on the chat would like to hear that, but we were on a radio show once, and Rocchio, one of my favorite segments that we would do is Rocchio's Hill to Die On. So if we can bring that up today.
No, I'm trying to mellow out. People get mad. People are always like, why are you so angry about things? First of all, they have to understand being angry about things makes me happy. You might think, wow, that's really
counterproductive.
That's a really messed up way to go about life. And that's fair, but I don't yuck other people's yums, so, get off my back.
So maybe we can get Rocchio, if you can bring it out of him today, to do a hill to die on.
It's not hard.
Or at least get him fired up about something. I think we can do that. Everybody who's coming on the chat, make sure you like and subscribe while you're here. Get into any of your questions, concerns, anything like that. We should start with the Cardinals right off the rip because, what is it?
I'm already mad about something.
What happened? Already?
Yes, I'm already mad about something.
What happened?
Jay, I want to. He had a different message. He had a different name in the earlier show during Cards Up 365 with me and Joe Roderick. It was Jay Renegade Rocks, and now it's just Jay Renegade. But he's saying, just to clarify, it's Renegade for future shout outs, and I'm mad about that because Renegade just doesn't roll off the tongue in the same way. I have a weird last name too, though, so I shouldn't judge you. Is it Renegade?
Renegade?
Renegade or Renegade? Yeah, is it Renegade or Renegade? Now,
Renegade.
Is people, if you don't know how to do phonetic spelling, you see this, you're already going to get me. Go back to the
Renegade.
Blues. Go back to the Blues.
Renegade. So you had the Blues win in overtime last night. Really exciting stuff over at Enterprise Center. Not so exciting over at Busch Stadium. And we're going to talk about the Blues coming up in the Grim Report, but we should go ahead and just mention off the top because I see some people chiming in. 10 in a row from number one Blues fan, Thomas Welcher. He says, do you believe in miracles? Talking about the Blues. 10 wins in a row for the Blues right now. That overtime winner against the Detroit Red Wings, there's a lot of things to like. We got to see Jimmy Snuggerud with his NHL debut. The Blues finding a way to continue to win. And Cam Fowler, talk about just such a sneaky trade that the Blues and Doug Armstrong pulled off and how much it's worked for him. He set up Kyrou to be able to tie it up and then, of course, had the winner in overtime. I can't believe that Doug Armstrong just continues. We're talking about miracles, pull off these trades, offer sheets, anything. It seems like he just has that golden Midas touch with pulling off those moves.
30 points in 45 games for a defenseman, plus 16. That's a nuts. I mean, Cam Fowler in his career has been positive 4 times. The last time was plus 3 in 2017-18. I know he's on a bad Ducks team, but and that's probably more indicative of those numbers. But nonetheless, I mean, just Cam Fowler putting up those numbers, coming into a team right away. It's so impressive. It shows one thing I think a lot of people questioned about Doug Armstrong, and I think was wrong to question, which was, does he have a vision for this roster? And I think maybe some GMs are better in season. Some GMs are better in the offseason. And maybe he's just a better in-season GM. And maybe he didn't have the full scope of things in the offseason when no one's on the ice. But as soon as he sees these guys play and he sees what the attitude is and he sees what the team build is, I don't know if there's a better GM in hockey at on the fly mid-season making the moves and pushing the right buttons, whether it's a call up on a young player like Jordan Binnington, whether it's a move like Cam Fowler. It just seems like he's got all the right touches, and it completely belies what I think the biggest criticism has been for Armstrong. If you have been criticizing Doug Armstrong over the last 3, 5, even like 8 to 10 years.
It's just the pivot,
10 years,
right?
but-
The pivot that he's able to do. Landon Jackson says Armstrong has put on an absolute clinic this season. To your point, the way that he's able to pivot in season, I think, is what makes Army so good, where he's able to fully evaluate. I think a lot of us thought, and I thought too, that maybe he would make some moves at the trade deadline that we had not too long ago. And it's a good thing he didn't. Now, maybe Braden Shin, of course, him wanting to stay in St. Louis has a lot to do with that. But at the same time, look at how well it worked out and how he's able to also, I think the Jim Montgomery move just makes him GM of the year, period. Honestly, bring in Jim Montgomery. Hate it for Drew Bannister. Nothing against Drew Bannister, of course. I feel like I have to say that every single time because I feel so bad for him.
Yeah, we can stop saying it.
You don't feel bad for him whatsoever.
It's not that I don't feel bad for him. It's just
it is what it is.
It's like how
it led to this moment.
It's like how we always do he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's nice. He's a nice guy, but
yeah, what are we saying? Okay, exactly. So let's cut through the BS. Let's stop doing let's stop beating around the bush here. Just the move was made because Montgomery was available for the first time. Had Jim Montgomery been available in the same hiring cycle as Bannister,
then he would have picked
it would have been Montgomery. Yeah, it sucks if you're Bannister. You had to win an outsized amount to essentially save yourself from this situation happening, and you couldn't do it. And partially, I think it's because the team wasn't buying into what you were selling, but unfortunately, that's part of being a coach. And I know we kind of vacillate as fans and even as analysts between blaming players and blaming coaches, but bottom line, that's the job of the coach.
Eric Cleveland says Armstrong having second thoughts turning over the team to Steen. Armstrong still one of the best in the business. I feel like this is something that he's wanted to do for a while. And the way that he's setting things up, those offer sheets with bringing in Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg, those are things that are going to pay off for Alexander Steen. I don't think that he's going to all of a sudden change his mind and not have that happen. Steen's ready to go for next season.
What's wrong with going on top?
Yeah, exactly.
Come on now. Are you kidding me?
This is kind of like when you look at the transition periods that the Blues and the Cardinals are coincidentally going through at the exact same time. John Mozeliak obviously will be stepping down as the president of baseball operations for the Cardinals, handing things over to Chaim Bloom. And then you have Doug Armstrong handing things over to Alexander Steen. Both of them kind of had things towards the end of their careers here that people really talk about. You look at Doug Armstrong. What do people talk about here recently? Not signing Alex Pietrangelo, that Torrey Krug contract, and how it hasn't exactly worked out. And kind of the same thing with John Mozeliak, some of the recent signings that haven't panned out for him too. But the way that Doug Armstrong has really just changed that narrative to where now we're not really thinking about that Torrey Krug contract as much. Would you have liked to have Alex Pietrangelo? Of course. But the way that this has set things up perfectly where you're able to have this young core continue to grow is huge. Maybe the Cardinals can do the same thing, but time will only tell with them.
Yeah. Much like the Blues, it's going to have to be a lot of savvy moves in season, I think, for the Cardinals. And I know Joe, we were talking about this in Cards Hub 365. Joe doesn't want me thinking like that. Already about making trades from
Are you already
points of
trading
strength.
guys off?
Yeah, I all I'm thinking about last night is how many one inning appearances does Ryan Helsley need where he gets a strikeout or mows down the side? You know, every time he does it, how much better does the prospect that the Cardinals are going to get in July get? Yes, it's 100% my thought process when Ryan Helsley's out there striking out or in getting Mike Trout out for the second game in a row. 100%. That's my thought process. M. Gill Design says Army needs to stay GM. Listen, again, you go out on top. You Jerome Bettis, you John Elway. That's the best thing in sports possible. Do it, especially as a GM. Look what happened with John Mozeliak. You don't want to go out with the team on a down turn, especially also if you're Doug Armstrong, you also got to be thinking, I mean, he was literally this has definitely never happened to me, but he literally went into the casino and lost a lot of money at blackjack at first. And then he had like $50 left. And he said, I'm going to put all $50 on one hand. And I'm even going to throw like 25 on the 3-hand thing that never hits. But if it does, it's 100-1. And you still lose that last hand, but you hit the 100-1 thing. That's essentially this season. That's not a personal story. Don't worry.
I feel like it is.
That's this season for Armstrong. He had his final hand at the table and he just hit blackjack. He just hit at the 100-1 3-card bet. I mean, why would you don't stay at the table, get your chips, walk out, go? Everything that potentially could have gone wrong for your career. Again, the Torrey Krug contract, Alex Pietrangelo. Let's go back to like 2016 when he traded Brian Elliott and people thought he was crazy. And then look at the goaltending for the team since that season. Jake Allen, Jordan Binnington, so on and so forth. it's a string of home runs with a little bit of a dip, and now he's riding the coaster back up. Get out at the top, my man. 100%.
Landon Jackson says, Rock is making me want to take a trip over to Ameristar. Look at what you're doing now. Now people are going to go over to Ameristar and gamble their lives away.
I think they should go across the river to the Casino Queen.
Oh, okay. There we go. And McGill Design says, Robert Thomas and Kyrou contracts look good now. I admit that I was a skeptic. I was a little bit too. Now, Robert Thomas, at the time, I didn't have as much of a problem with his contract because he was really stepping up every single year. With Jordan Kyrou, it still felt like we hadn't felt that full maturity, and he wasn't a fully developed 200-foot player. But the steps that he has now made, and especially this season too, I mean, you can't find like 30-plus goal scorers everywhere in the league.
And that's why those contracts made sense, and that's why people complaining about them in year one was so crazy, because of course 100% what was going to happen was it was exactly what happened, which was 2-3 years into the contracts they played into them, and now they're discounts, they're bargain deals essentially, because other people are getting 10 or 11 million for top assist or top goal scoring kind of levels. And look at the list of players who have had 3 straight 30-30 seasons like Jordan Kyrou has had. None of them are making, or all of them are making more than what Jordan Kyrou has, or all of them are making what Jordan Kyrou is, but they're only making it for one more year, and then they're going to re-up for even more money. Smart deals, good deals. This is why you have to have patience.
I think that maybe somebody in the chat with the reason why you had issues with Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas contract is because we knew that it was turning the page. It was turning the page from the veteran guys that people really liked, like Ryan O'Reilly, some of the other ones too, where you knew that financially you couldn't keep a lot of those guys around. So they knew that it was kind of the end of the run with certain veteran players. But when you're looking at the core and growing this group of guys, it's smart. It's what you can't just stick with these veteran guys forever, right? Eventually you have to welcome in this young core. And that's what Doug Armstrong was doing, is thinking steps ahead of what will be our group moving forward here. Because you can't keep everybody. You just can't.
Thomas Welch says, Doug's still staying with the team even after he hands over the reins to Steen, right? Like president of hockey operations. I don't think he's just going to spend every season at Turks. I think they're yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens, mainly because who doesn't want to keep pulling a paycheck from that isn't much smaller for doing less work. I mean, I think that's kind of like everyone wants to hit that emeritus status. Who doesn't want to hit that point in their life where you can do everything from home because you got the clout. And I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, yeah, he'll probably still be involved in some way. I'm not 100% the official answer there, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's the case.
No, and also I think, if I'm not mistaken too, that he'll be involved with Canadian Olympic team. So he's still going to be involved with hockey. I don't know what exactly it will look like with the Blues moving forward, but man, the way that he has been able to really just pull off a lot of these moves has helped out the Blues with what we're seeing right now with 10 straight wins. And then we got to see Jimmy Snuggerud, obviously some growing pains at certain parts, but that shot will play in the NHL either way.
Yes, exactly. And my thoughts on Jimmy Snuggerud here was that you can tell, it's always one of those things where you can tell when a guy is thinking and not reacting, because he's quicker than that. I expect him to be a faster skater, but I think it was just things were just a little slow because he's thinking, and that's always going to make you look slower than the elite athletes. And so I'm excited to see what we're going to see from Jimmy Snuggerud. I expect to see more of him again because of just the games left, the limit he has, where they are in the playoffs. I think right now it's still looking like wildcard 2 is the better run if you're trying to scope those things out. I know maybe the Blues don't think that way. I can't help but think that way. This is an interesting text from M. Gill Design. Dick Vermeil tried the same thing and regrets he left the Rams on top. I think that's a little bit different because that was leaving a Super Bowl winning team that had a rookie Torrey Holt, a fifth-year Isaac Bruce, maybe sixth-year Isaac Bruce. I think fifth-year Isaac Bruce. Marshall Falk had been traded there in 98. He's in the third year. He was AP Offensive Player of the Year. Kurt Warner was the MVP. He was also a 26-year-old rookie or 27-year-old second-year player, depending on, I don't know if he was actually rookie eligible that year. I don't think he was. The defense had a lot of young players on it. So I think it's completely different, apples to oranges kind of comparison. It's also coach versus GM. Also, Dick Vermeil was a lot older, and yeah, he did regret it, but I do think there's a lot of differences. But I see where you're coming from, M. Gill, but I think there's just too many differences between the situations.
Well, I mean, think about this too. John Mozeliak at opening day, he gets booed, and he's been booed recently at just about every single opening day. I'm trying to think about the last time where he wasn't booed during opening day. I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. I know that it's been a lot more recently here, but wouldn't you rather go out on top? I could see that. Yeah, probably around then.
My theory, and I said this yesterday, when
I feel like it escalated after Schilt.
But yeah, my theory is always the cracks in the foundation can be traced to 2016. Fans started noticing it in 2019. And that because we were talking about how things have not returned to the pre-COVID numbers. And I think it's because 19 was really where things started going. Jordan Barrett just... Whew, okay. Do you think this Blues run without Parayko makes him more palatable as a potential trade candidate? First, great use of palatable. Second, terrible use of the trade machine. Don't walk away from the trade machine, my guy.
No.
Don't need to do that.
Is it because, Jordan, maybe follow up on this, is it because the Blues are playing so well right now because they don't have Colton Parayko? He hasn't played since March 5th, correct? And it seems like he is coming back here soon. He's been practicing with the team. Your team is better with Colton Parayko. I know that what they have going on with guys right now that you don't want to disturb it. We kind of talked about that with Jimmy Snuggy the other day. What line would you even put him on? Because you don't want to disrupt everything that's working so well with this team right now. Colton Parayko needs to be here. He makes your team so much better. And I mean, yes, they've been playing well. Guys have stepped up. Cam Fowler has been a revelation, of course, for this group. But at the same time, you need Colton Parayko, especially as you get ready for the playoffs.
It's the same situation as the Cardinals. Listen, if the Cardinals put together an 11-game winning streak and are even in talking like a wild card spot and like solidly a wild card team, then I don't want to trade Ryan Helsley as much. But and so no, if we go back to, because you know, Jason's not crazy. Jordan's not crazy. But number one Blues fans think he is. Jordan, why would you ever want to trade Parayko? Well, guys, let's have a little memory here, a little little point of view here, perspective. What was the conversation happening in December? That was the exact conversations we were hearing, is that they might try to trade him because he had proved himself to be that number one defender. And if you can get a haul for Colton Parayko to help get more first-round picks to then put into the pipeline of Jimmy Snuggerud, Dalvin Dvorsky, Lindstein and Otto and whatever all the Swedish guys who are at the minors that Mike Meyer will tell you about much better than I can. I know they're there. I just forget their names. They sound
Steen's crew.
Yes. And it helps that they all have Steens in their last name. It's a great little nickname. So I get where Jordan's coming from, but you're a winning team now. This is the guy you need to win a Stanley Cup. And as soon and the best part about the NHL is that if you are making it into the playoffs, that mindset snaps in of like, oh, we can go on a run, because anybody can go on a run, mainly because we've seen them go on a run.
Yeah. McGill Design says defensemen are harder to come by. I wouldn't trade a 6'6" top defenseman any day. No, and Colton Parayko, I like Tucker being there, but he will be the odd man out in this situation is what I'm guessing here. But Tucker has played so well that it's great that he's at least part of that conversation where if something does happen or somebody drops off for whatever reason, you do have Tucker available to be there in your lineup.
Yeah, I mean, just having depth is a good thing. But at the same time, you can't let like a good team or like the sum is better than its parts. You can't let those players fool you into thinking that they are greater than that than what they were in that equation beforehand. Tyler Tucker is still Tyler Tucker.
Yeah,
and his ceiling is not
Colton Parayko. He's not a number one defenseman. You can't replace that.
I don't know if Tyler Tucker's ceiling is really anything higher than third pairing regular season. I don't know if you want, like, are you happy? Do you want to go into a playoff series where Tyler Tucker has to be a third pairing defenseman? No, I don't think you want like that. So just got to keep perspective even during these kind of runs.
Yeah. Thomas Welcher says Petro's situation is a fantastic shout and comparison. Parayko over Tucker all day from Ghostface Gaming, 100%. And then number one Blues fan said it would be Petro's situation all over again. The moment you trade a number one, you are immediately looking for a number one. Exactly.
And right now, okay, so when they let Petro, or when they didn't give him the contract and then decided that he could go, they had Colton Parayko. just take a quick look. Mike Meyer, if you're watching, I know you retweeted the stream. Thank you very much on X. But if you're watching, let me know. Maybe I'm wrong. I do not think they have a viable comparison to what Parayko was when they let Pietrangelo walk to what they have now. Mainly, maybe Broberg, I guess you could say Broberg could step up and be that level. So maybe, I guess Broberg's probably the answer to that question. Now that I think about him, he was a top 10 pick, and he has been a freaking monster since he got here. But I think you got Parayko's contract. I mean, Parayko's locked in for another couple of years, isn't he?
Yes.
So, like, I mean, that also you have to factor that in. So let me see here. Oh man, Spotrac loves to take freaking forever to load up, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, I listen. I understood this conversation when they were sucking, and we were talking about how even the retool was probably too conservative of a phrase for the Blues, and it needed to be a rebuild and things like that. And so I just don't think there's any viable reason why you need to be trading Colton Parayko or even talking about it. It ends in 2029. So yeah, he's locked in. That's a fantastic contract. There's no touching it. It was only a conversation when you sucked.
Yeah. And also in hindsight, when we were talking about who was it? McGill Design said earlier, you can't really find defensemen who are 6'6". In hindsight, I think that Army was going smaller, faster, probably more of a goal scoring defenseman for Torrey Krug, and it just didn't pan out whatsoever. You need those bigger guys. I think the lesson has been learned there.
We've talked about the need for a quarterback on the power play for a couple of years now, so I can understand that need, but it's better when you can get a guy who's 6'3" to do it. It
just feels like there's a lot of just magical things going on around with the Blues. And we talked about it the other day, and it's silly, but Jobu, everything going on with that.
I love that so much.
I do too. I think it's fun. And I think that shows the personality of this group kind of coming out. And when you're having fun, good things seem to happen. It just feels like everything's lining up perfectly for the Blues and the Stanley Cup this year.
Chad Harrington, Kairu's open ice hit in overtime was a beautiful thing. Huge stride this year. Mary Likens, he seems like a different player with Montgomery. Yeah, I mean, I was talking about the numbers for Jordan Kyrou, but the mindset, you talk about them making a Stanley Cup run. Jordan Kyrou being a 30-30 guy, but Jordan Kyrou having the mindset of a 200-foot player. That's almost as game-changing as his actual scoring when you talk about them actually being a threat in the playoffs when the style of hockey changes.
Yeah. And Robert Thomas, too, when we go back to those contracts, I mean, his overtime assists gave him 50 assists in 3 of his last 4 seasons. That contract is paying off really well. This has been such a tear for Robert Thomas and what he's been able to do, especially coming back from 4 Nations. But the way Montgomery is able to get the most out of all of these players, when you were talking about earlier, Doug Armstrong making these moves and be able to kind of pivot within the season to evaluate what teams need, I think that it's also really important that he kind of works in lockstep with Jim Montgomery, where he knows, hey, I know that if I bring this guy in, Jim Montgomery is going to be able to bring out the best in him. Cam Fowler being a great example of that. I mean, I don't think that I had high expectations. I thought it was kind of a nothing move, honestly, when they brought in Cam Fowler. I didn't think that he'd be able to elevate this. I know he's a veteran. I was just not thinking much about this move.
30 points from a defenseman again in 45
exactly,
games.
That's what I'm
saying.
We're
not expecting that
but
from is insane.
Doug Armstrong also realizing that if he brings in certain guys, Montgomery is able to bring out the most in them, I think says a lot about what Monty has been able to do with this group. Jordan Kyrou playing better, Robert Thomas playing better ever since they brought in Montgomery. I mean, every single guy has elevated their game, it feels like.
Yeah, Ghostface Gaming to the Parayko, because Jordan Barrera was saying that he doesn't want to trade him, but if we can get an elite goal scorer, Ghostface Gaming says we need a goal scorer. That's what we're lacking. Ladies and gentlemen, again, Dalibor Dvorsky, Jimmy Snuggerud, the young players are here. Jordan Kyrou is on a very short list of guys to go 30-30 in 3 straight years. I know you want that big-time goal scorer. I'm sure some of these guys were in their 30s and going to Blues games when Brett Hull was here. I'm sure some of them were these people commenting were kids growing up with that, and they want to see that kind of goal scorer again. Fine, they're winning. I don't know how we're complaining about how exactly it's happening, or we're mucking about it like, well, they need more offense. I don't know if they can afford to give us some defense. This team is building a perfect combination for a modern hockey, which is Did they get smaller? Did they get faster? Yes. But have they also gotten heavier this entire season, month to month? Absolutely. And that's the combination they needed to build, and that's what they're doing.
This team, the difference to me, the biggest difference with the 2019 group, outside of clearly some of the players, is that this team is faster than that 2019 group. Way faster, in my opinion. So it is going more into what Doug Armstrong was trying to accomplish when he's putting this group together of who is staying and who is going. And the core moving forward is that it's kind of going with the trends of what's happening in the NHL right now, kind of opposite of what the Cardinals have been doing, where they're trying to pick it up and being reactive rather than proactive. It was really painful at the time to see O'Reilly go. It was painful to see Pietrangelo go. But he was thinking ahead and being ahead of the curve and the trend and making sure that they were being prepared for that.
I completely forgot about O'Reilly.
Did you forget about Ryan O'Reilly?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Aww.
I kind of let that one go pretty fast.
Oh,
yeah. Thanks for that run. Thanks for winning.
It worked out.
Thanks for winning that trophy. Thanks for.
There's still some
MVP.
people who are upset about Tage Thompson too. It's like, yeah, you would take Ryan O'Reilly any day if that equals you getting a Stanley Cup.
Him putting the trophy on his head. Elite moment. Elite St. Louis sports
The
moment.
hat he wore during the parade.
Also
unforgettable.
Ellipses 150. I gotta address this because this is the second time you have posted this. I cannot post this comment again unless you actually tell me where it's from, because I Googled it and I cannot find this interview. I cannot find.
What is this?
I can't find the article. I can't find the interview. Ellipses 150. Parayko is a cornerstone for this franchise. Even Connor McDavid has said that Colton Parayko is his least favorite player to play against. Please, please, please link that to me. I want to post it. I cannot find where you're talking about. There's even a video of people. There's even like a YouTube video compilation of like the 20 players Connor McDavid says he hates playing against, and Colton Parayko isn't in the video. So I just want a little confirmation, because it wouldn't surprise me if I was Connor McDavid. I would absolutely hate that there's some freakazoid 6'6" guy with a super long stick who can cover 3/4 of the damn ice in front of me. That would really annoy me when my entire thing is getting around people and covering more space than them. And then this mutant, who looks like Cyclops, is just covering, full on, 30 feet wide. That would annoy me too if I was McDavid. I believe you. I need confirmation.
Ellipsis says that I heard Jamie Rivers talk about it on the Fast Lane. So maybe it was a conversation specifically with that.
I gotta go hat in hand to text Jamie Rivers and find out where this is from. Gee, thanks a lot. Love
Jamie
doing
Rivers
that.
Does have some. He has insiders. Yes.
Yeah, but he's gonna make fun of me.
No, he won't.
He loves me, but he's such a bully.
He's a hockey guy. That's
exactly.
What they do. They like to chirp. That's what they do.
Isn't that what I said? I said
yes.
I know I said a longer sentence, but what I meant to say was he's a hockey guy.
They like to chirp. They like to chirp at you.
What? Text Jimmy. The problem there. You mama. We have to correct this one right now. I remember when going to casinos and STL was actually fun 20 years ago. I think this might be you being 20 years older than you were then, because again, I went to the DraftKings at the Casino Queen literally 2 weekends ago for the NCAA tournament, and it was an absolute blast. Easy as heck to get a reserve your seating, because they just do like open table, like all the restaurants around town. The menu was fantastic, and just kiosks just like lined up in front of you. So yeah, you're absolutely, and also I get to make a 12-minute walk to a blackjack table, which again is a story from a friend of mine.
Oh, okay. A friend of yours.
Yes.
But we should get into this. So he does like to frequent the casino.
I love blackjack so much.
So what is the best casino that you have been to?
Honestly, I really do think it's Casino Queen across the river, mainly because
are you saying like you guys have it like you and
I
Rachel,
always lived in the city.
I could say Rachel, right? I mean, Rachel's watching.
Yeah, she's in the chat.
I'm not trying to asked me out. She already asked me anything.
She already asked me out in the chat. People were like, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
Yes.
Yeah, just pulling people randomly on Twitter.
Rachel, his girlfriend, who's probably watching right now, she also likes to hit up casinos, and you guys travel a lot to different casinos, and so you still
she likes
think
the Vegas Strip. She
likes Vegas best, but you like.
I love being in the St. Louis, mainly because the dealers here are really chill. And again, when you're playing blackjack, I honestly, because I'm a degenerate, I'll admit that right now. I'm not Charlie Marlowe levels, but I am a degenerate. We're going to talk about Pick Six here with DraftKings coming up. But I love. That
was a nice kick to the.
I'm just saying we are. I love doing my sports. I love doing my sports wagers, but I'm a degenerate when it comes to blackjack. There's nothing I want to do more on once every year is then to go sit at a blackjack table from about like 2 p.m. to about 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And St. Louis dealers are the best. They're fun. They're all fun to talk to. If I'm like into like the hour 6 and I'm kind of forgetting what the book tells me should be a play, I could be like, I'm forgetting, what should I am I supposed to split eights even when you're showing aces? And like dealers will just be like, this is what the book says on it. I love that attitude. I love cool dealers. And I also love $10 and $15 tables, which also you can't find very many other places other than some places around St. Louis. So yeah, I absolutely love Casino Queen, and the fact that the sports book's right there, because Rachel will sit in the sports book, just laying down tickets, and then I'll be there in
Is
blackjack.
she better than you?
100%. She's so much better than me at sports. It's so disconcerting how.
Because she played college golf. She played college golf. I feel like she's very competitive, probably.
Yeah, we had a stack of our wagers over there on the ill side. And I'm not gonna, I went 0 for like 9, and she's over here just like this hit. She's so much better than me. And honestly, it's not only that. I thought I could play some craps.
No.
I have no game. Like, this is Mike. It's, you remember the basketball episode of The Office?
Yes.
She's John Krasinski. I'm Stanley at the craps table. Apparently, I thought I was good. I thought I'm over here,
but
like,
she's like next level,
easy A. All tall and all tall, all small, nothing at all that stuff. I thought I was in on this stuff. I am Stanley, just bouncing the ball like a moron compared to her craps game.
Maybe one day you can be better than her, but I have a feeling that she'll always be better.
Did I download a craps app on my phone to try to play so I could get better at it? Yes.
Wow.
Has it helped? Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely
Thomas
not.
Welcher says, subtle DraftKings plug, #company man. You're right. So we mentioned DraftKings, and we should probably bring that up to you guys right now, because are you ready to win some real money in March? Struggling to choose which team to pull off an upset? Forget about the teams. All you need to focus on are player stats to rack up big cash prizes with DraftKings Pick 6. And when it comes to massive payouts, DraftKings dunks all over the competition. Pick 6 available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, and Georgia, and more. Track your picks for a shot at a huge cash prize. It's as simple as that. And we have some Pick 6 for you this morning. I know that some people were trying to do some for some Cardinals. I don't know if that was able to open up for you, but we do have some good Pick 6 for you guys.
And before I dive into those, though, little
gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
So download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. So what do we have, Rock?
All right, we're going to go Mackenzie Gore, lower than 16.5 outs. He's had a huge start in his first one. So we're going to play a little bit of the balance game. We're going to go lower on 16.5 outs for Mackenzie Gore. On Paul Skeens, we're going to go higher than 7.5 strikeouts because he's Paul Skeens. I don't think I need to say anything more than that. And then Shohei Ohtani, we're going to go higher than 0.5 home runs because I'm taking him to absolutely launch one today in that home matchup. So Mackenzie Gore, lower than 16.5 outs. Paul Skeens, higher than 7.5 strikeouts thrown. And Shohei Ohtani, more than 0.5 home runs. That is our Pick 6 play on the DraftKings Pick 6 app. Get it now.
Nice. And maybe you could do better than Rock at
you will do better than me.
No, it can happen. You just try. Try.
Listen, okay. I'm just not good at it. I'll just be honest. I enjoy sports betting very much. I enjoy throwing, especially on the Pick 6 stuff, the higher and lower, the more or less kind of stuff. I actually am kind of good at that because you can do live stuff. And once I get the feel of the game in the moment, I'm better. I'm just beforehand, I sit there, I do my analysis. I got my stats. I wish I was actually good at math because then I'd be one of those guys who's like, I have an algorithm. I don't have an algorithm. I'm not that smart. So I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here. And like most people from shooting from the hip, that's why they made the phrase, I don't hit very much.
Oh, you go.
That's the point of the phrase, Brooke, is you don't hit very much when you shoot from the hip.
All right, now we need to get into some Cardinals talk. We talked about the Blues. We talked about Jimmy Snuggerud. Now we need to talk about the Cardinals because last night, both teams, you had the Cardinals going to extras. You had the Blues win in overtime. The Cardinals, though, couldn't keep up their end of the bargain. 9-7, the final score in extras. And there's a lot of good moments and frustrating moments. One, I think a positive, Matthew Liberatore, in my opinion. I know that some people are going to beat him up, but I think that him being able to bounce back, solid 6 innings, in my opinion, it was enough actually for a quality start. And I know some people say, wow, that actually counts for a quality start now. Yes, it does. He pitched around a 3-run third to post a quality start, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 Ks, 77 pitches. I was just fine with it. I liked that he was able to rebound. Now, when you look at some of the other decisions in the game, and this is where we want you to weigh in on the chat, so make sure that you weigh in on the chat, like and subscribe while you're there. But what is something that sticks out from you with that loss right now? And I know a lot of people are probably going to point to pretty quickly here, either Ryan Helsley using him in the 9th instead of saving him for the 10th. I think, honestly, that's more on that you need another high leverage arm in your pen. Phil Maton is around. Ollie Marmol was asked about that after the game last night about, well, where's Phil Maton? Why would you not bring him out in this situation instead of using Fernandez again? And he said that they're trying to kind of ease him in because he was a late add in spring training, so they want to make sure that he's available for the long haul. I have no issue with that whatsoever. I think you can say, I would rather see Ryan Helsley in the 10th rather than the 9th, but who knows? I mean, I think that's one of those tic-tac things. And then you had Brenden Donovan. Should he have gone in the 10th? I think that that's something that's a little hindsight, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are upset about that. You didn't know that Mike Trout was going to sail it. That was kind of something that you saw afterwards. I think it was just one of those moments where, yeah, he could have gone. I don't know if it would exactly change the results in the end.
Ooh, I'm going to get really nerdy with this one.
Okay.
So post hoc ergo propter hoc. You know what that means, Brooke?
No.
After that, therefore, because of, which means and it's a fallacy because this is what people are doing with the Mike Trout stuff. You didn't know Mike Trout was going to sky it. And so every piece of decision making that goes into that includes knowing that information is ridiculous because you didn't know that that's what was going to happen. Eric Cleveland jumps in. Donnie should have kept going. Even if he's out, you're still tied. Thoughts? So I like that thought process. That's the only correct way to ask that question, in my opinion. Good job by Eric Cleveland. Your thoughts?
My whole thing is that it's Mike Trout, and it was kind of hitting shallow right field. That's a gamble in itself. Could Pop have sent him? Probably. But at the same time, what if he was thrown out at home? Then we would all be like, why did he go? Why did he go in that situation? He should have known that he shouldn't have done that with Mike Trout. Right?
Far too logical of an answer.
I just think that it's more of a hindsight thing with what you're talking about. Of course, we saw what happened afterwards where Mike Trout sailed it. You didn't know that was going to happen. You didn't know. And it's just one of those things where, yes, it could have gone another way with Brenden Donovan. I didn't exactly hate that moment. I think one of the biggest things that I could point to in this game that just slightly bothered me a little bit is we did see Herrera later in the game. Ollie Marmol using him to pinch hit. I thought you might have could have used him a little bit sooner than that. I know that they were trying to give him and Wilson Contreras a day off. Obviously, he went to them a little bit later. Wilson Contreras still has not been able to really find his rhythm at the plate just yet. Mason Wynn as well. But I thought that maybe you could have Herrera pinch hit a little bit earlier in the game. Like there's an opportunity, I believe, in the 7th, but also in the 9th inning too.
So, yeah, I'm bottom of the 9th. Yeah, I think
Do you get what I'm saying?
That's a fair because Walker's coming up next.
That's the only thing that I just really if there's like an Ollie, yes, if there was an Ollie decision that really bothered me from last night, it's not something that even ticked me off that much. I was just wondering, I'm like, is Herrera available off the bench? Why not use him in this situation? He's been hitting well. I know defensively Herrera has been struggling. I understand that. We can get into that in a second because Ollie Marmol was on KMOX yesterday and he had some interesting comments about Herrera where he said they're going to have him work on throwing from his knees and hopefully that will help him defensively. It's interesting because we had Claibs on before the season started and he said that he went to Driveline and learned things that he had never before, especially about throwing out runners. And now we're seeing that Herrera is having issues again behind the plate. I'm like, do we ban Driveline from Cardinals players at this point? Because remember what happened with Zach Thompson?
We just figured it out, though. That's why they didn't pinch hit him.
Yeah.
because the extra runner on second. I wonder if they're thinking, if we pinch it here in the ninth and we don't get it, there's already one out. It's just Walker, who's been hitting well, and I think that's one of the bright spots at the beginning of the season. But we go into the top of the 10th, and they have a runner on second base. We need to prioritize defense right out of the gate. Maybe that's the thought process, and then they're thinking we pull the trigger later on and roll the dice. I'm not sure if that's a thought process. I didn't get to see all Marmol's post-game presser. I don't know if he even was asked about that exact specific situation. I'm not sure. I know a lot of people have been talking about the pitching stuff as well. Your mama says, send Donovan, especially after using Helsley in the ninth. You don't lose if he's thrown out. If he is thrown out, you have Herrera coming up next inning in the exact same scenario. Make Trout make that throw.
Yeah, I mean,
Crazy.
of course, in hindsight, but at the same time, too, he could have not have been safe at home. So I think that I didn't exactly hate it. It's also early in the season, so I'm not trying to be too harsh on certain things. It's a learning moment, right? It's a learning moment in that situation. Should he have done it? Maybe. But at that moment, they decided not to. And I don't know if anybody's exactly to blame for that. I didn't exactly hate it or question it. Now we're seeing stuff more about Ryan Helsley. And, to be fair, I'm going to play devil's advocate on this part too, because I didn't exactly like it, but I somewhat understood it because they put Ryan Fernandez in that situation where, once again, maybe he's not ready to be a high leverage arm. And I know that they used him in some of those situations last year. You need another high leverage arm, and hopefully Maton can be that guy, but they're trying to ease him in. I have no issue with that whatsoever because he was a late add. And we've seen that with pitchers where you don't want to rush them too much, especially if they're a late addition to spring training, because they didn't get that full kind of rev up into the season as you would like. But looking at the Ryan Helsley situation and bringing him in the ninth, if your closer is your best relief pitcher, okay, would it not make a little bit more sense to use him in a high leverage 10th inning situation with the man on second? Yeah.
I get that, but I really do think, and I said this already in Cards 365.
And you have to get there
repeating
first.
myself. You have to get there first. And again, same situation. Top of the ninth, tie game, meat of the order, Mike Trout. I'm going to go to my best pitcher. He did it 2 games in a row. Even if you disagree with the actual decision making, first of all, unless you're coming on here and you're Whitey Herzog, they do know more than you. They have the information that you do not have, and they know more. And so them saying this is how we're going to approach tied situations in the top of the ninth with the meat of the opposing order coming up. We're going to use Ryan Helsley, and we're going to make sure the game at least extends. I'm okay with that. That's their decision. That they've decided that's the best way to utilize it. Stay consistent with it. I like that more than changing things around and not having a consistent game plan with a player like Ryan Helsley. And that's why I'm actually for it. Maybe even I think you can find more high leverage moments to use your most effective relief pitcher. If this is the moment they have said is the best for him, keep rolling with it.
I feel like this is kind of a situation. I already saw where Aaron is saying in the chat, oh, there it is. The early excuse. I'm done with it's early. I get that because last season we were saying the same thing. I know I was saying the same thing too, is that it's early, but at the same time, it is just a few games into the season. And I still believe that Brenden Donovan will be just fine. I know that it's 2 mistakes in a row. So then we're kind of in the thick of this, in the moment, microwave society kind of feeling, but
get a point where we're actually worried about like Brenden Donovan's baseball IQ. Like
yeah.
That's actually a problem. That's gonna be something that's problematic for the Cardinals in a long arc of the 2025 season. Is Brenden Donovan's baseball IQ? That's insanity, people. That's insane.
Ellipsis says his bat is too good to send down, but then if he's just a DH, what does that mean for Gorman, Baker, and or Burley?
I believe he's talking about Herrera.
Yeah. His bat is really good. I don't know. And somebody mentioned Ankiel's yips as maybe something that's going on with Ivan Herrera. You need this to work out because you also moved your other catcher over to first base. That's the other portion of this where it's a little bit concerning because
someone's going to break down the door and just scream Jimmy Crooks into the chat in the next 5 seconds.
Oh, they will. He's ready to go. Bring him up right now. What concerns me is that we think a lot of guys are ready to go and then they bring him up and then they're not exactly ready to go.
Give me one example.
Herrera.
Okay.
That was a quick one, wasn't it? That was really quick. But his bat is great. And so The issue, though, is something that I can't believe that it took the Cardinals so long to identify, because I had never even really thought about that, because I just kept hearing Herrera was the heir apparent to Yadi or Molina. We got to see him a little bit. And of course, when he first came up, he didn't look exactly ready to go. Not everybody is ready to go when they first come up when we see them. But the fact that they weren't able to identify this a little bit earlier on with Herrera's arm is concerning to me.
Yeah, I think with a lot of players, and this is not new in baseball, the bat kind of intoxicates you. When we were on the radio,
Somebody did say that. Will Sutton said, "You guys were on the radio."
when we were on the radio, Greg Amsinger, one of my favorite things about him, Randy asked him, what have you heard about Nolan Gorman's defense? And this was before Nolan Gorman had hit the majors, and he goes, his defense, man, he sure can hit the ball. And that's, I can't blame teams for saying we have to find the bat, because you just can't play slapstick hitters who are great defenders for the most part anymore. So I understand why people are worried about that factor with Ravon Herrera, but he's been working on it. He's been trying to mitigate it. The problem with him is also that when he was coming up 3 years ago, the bags weren't bigger, and there was no, as Vince Coleman calls it, a starting clock for people to steal off of, and that probably hasn't helped.
I think I'm more concerned, if we're talking about players that I'm more concerned about, and even with that, I'm not completely just like, oh my gosh, I'm super worried about this guy, is I would like to see Wilson Contreras and obviously Mason Wynn produce at the plate. That's something that worries me a little bit, that they're still struggling at the plate right now, and hopefully they'll be able to break through. I think that Mason Wynn will be just fine. I think Wilson will be just fine. Brenden Donovan will be just fine. I know that a lot of people, and I've seen on social media too, where they say 2 days in a row where Brenden Donovan cost them a win in extras. I believe in Brenden Donovan.
Maybe he's got a head cold. Maybe he's just a little groggy right now. Again, there's certain things that just, it makes zero sense to worry about in the long term. And Brenden Donovan's baseball IQ is 1,000% one of those things. That's like me going to the Blues game in 2 days and be like, guys, do you think Robert Thomas is going to pass the puck enough tonight? Like, yes, of course he is. I don't know. He took 4 shots yesterday and didn't have an assist. Do you think Robert Thomas is going to try to get other players involved? Yes. This is a dumb thing to worry about.
Yeah, we already had, you said it, with Jimmy Crooks coming up. I don't know if you guys saw that too, but Jimmy Crooks, Eric Cleveland says, Cards have a stud catcher in AAA. Jimmy Crooks is close, can throw and hit. Herrera could end up being a trade chip.
I've never heard of Jimmy Crooks. Tell me more about this guy. Why isn't he here? Does anyone know why he's not here?
Because he's not ready yet.
So confused.
He's not ready just yet. I am excited to see Jimmy Crooks eventually, but at the same time, I think that we got to ease into it a little bit. But it is interesting from an evaluation standpoint. Eric Cleveland also said earlier in the chat, Cards have, where was it? Was that Eric or was it somebody else? I know that I saw it somewhere. Oh, Stuart Big. But this is the same organization that knew Jordan Walker wasn't going to be a third baseman and took a Bader trade to say, let's move him to right field. Yes. So the evaluation process is something that I think is really interesting here, because even with Wilson Contreras, when they brought him in and now he's your first baseman, he's not your catcher anymore. But the Cardinals seemed kind of surprised that he wasn't really great at calling games, and that was an issue for him. But he was in the division. He was in your division. He was with the Cubs. It was something that was kind of really well known on the evaluation process on the catcher side. And then now you have this issue with Ravon Herrera. And I know that somebody brought that up in the chat too, about Ollie Marmol saying on KMOX that they're going to have him start throwing from his knees, and maybe they'll get better results there. I hope so. But I can't believe that we're already starting another season where we're talking about Herrera's arm.
It's unfortunate, but again, I just don't think that we should be surprised that an organization ignored defensive problems and kept pushing a guy who has a great bat, because you're right. It's a problem that he doesn't have a good arm, but the reason why a team focuses on a player like Ravon Herrera is because, it doesn't work right now with the team build, but eventually, even if he never develops the arm, well, he can be first baseman. He can be a DH because he's got that bat. And so you're right. He's not developing the way you want to see, and it's problematic. And it means you're going to have to play Pedro Pages more, which honestly I think might be a good thing for this team, because I think so.
He calls a good game. You can tell that the players are really comfortable with Pages, and I know that not that they don't like Herrera. I think that we should state that. But clearly the pitchers really like working with Pedro Pajes.
Yeah, and I think this team needs to strike a good balance of offense and defense. And I think one way of doing that is going to be having Pedro Pajes control the game more from behind the plate. And then you don't have his bat, but then you focus on the fact that you're getting more offense than you expected from Victor Scott III. You're getting the offense you finally expected from Jordan Walker. And that gives you enough that you can maybe take a little bit of a hit behind the plate, which I think we saw for a lot of years here as Cardinals fans. Proof's in the pudding. You can build a roster if you can get hitting in other spots with some defensive stalwarts, especially one behind the plate who's controlling a pitching staff and making them all that much better.
GB says Wilson was somewhat of a panic move when Yadi retired. If you remember, because if you go back even during the season when Yadi was still a part of the team, remember John Mozeliak said publicly that they were already starting to look at some catchers to try to get Yadi or Molina to come back to the team. Because remember, Yadi wasn't coming back for a while there. He went down and he had his basketball team, family things going on. And so then they were already thinking for a while about the catcher that they were going to look at. So yes, it was a panic move, but it was something that they knew was coming for a while. It's not like Yadi was going to change his mind about when he was going to retire. It's just kind of interesting to me that a lot of people knew about Wilson Contreras and the way that he wasn't exactly great at calling a game, but the Cardinals didn't think that that would somehow be an issue when he would come over. McGill Design says it's Mozeliak's total control and of the organization that has resulted in bad player evaluation development. And now they are adding in voices from outside of the organization like Chaim Bloom, like Serfolio, different guys with different perspectives, which I think is good that the Cardinals recognize that, at least that they needed to bring in different perspectives and then focus back on their development and their minor league system, which is something that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I mean, they were lacking coaches. They didn't have enough coaches to develop a system. And if you're the Yankees or you're the Dodgers, who ironically do develop a fair amount of players, but overall, my point being, if you have the money to continually just restock the majors over and over again, fine. Don't spend money on coaches, but you can spend $400,000 on 5 coaches. Pretty good job to be making 100 plus grand to be breaking down film for a baseball squad. You can spend $1 million and build an extremely robust coaching staff. And that $1 million is going to get you what for a player? Nothing.
Yeah.
Goose egg. Like 2 years of a rookie. So you got to, you have the coaches to find that guy in the first place. I mean, this is, I don't know how many times we need to beat the dead horse. That's why the Tampa Bay Rays have been successful, is because when you put $1 million in a coaching staff versus $1 million into a player, you're going to be a lot more successful when you put the $1 million into the coaching staff. Just overall, it's going to help a lot more players. It's just so much better of an investment. For some reason, the Cardinals decided they couldn't make that investment even when they were getting $60 million per year guaranteed.
Oh, and now we have the comments of where is Yadi or Molina? I don't know. We don't know where Yadi or Molina is right now. And maybe we'll see him more whenever we turn kind of this page with the organization where you have new leadership coming in. I'd be curious if we'd see him a little bit more, but he has made comments, just like Albert Pujols has too, that he wants to be a manager in Major League Baseball. I just wish that we could see him a little bit more around the Cardinals organization, because he would obviously be a huge help to these young catchers as they're trying to grow and develop. I mean, to have Yadi working with you would be huge, but he hasn't shown up, and we don't exactly know why, other than he's been doing stuff with his family. We know that Benji, his brother, said that he's been in Texas as his son gets ready to be a catcher for the Longhorns. So maybe we'll see him soon if his son is getting ready for college, unless he's going to stick around his son for college.
I just think we all need to collectively
give up on that. Is that
stop talking about Yadi or Molina?
I don't think it will ever happen.
We just need to give up on that one for a while until he comes back, and then we can immediately start talking about it. The thing we got to be talking about, everybody, is we have to start talking about Albert Pujols again, because I don't know if anybody saw this, but Albert Pujols was in the booth doing play-by-play commenting for a baseball game a few weeks ago. It was in Dubai. Wasn't a Major League Baseball game. It was in Dubai, and it was.
I did not see this.
He called his first. He was his first time he ever did play-by-play, and it was with St. Louis's own, St. Gabriel's own, shout out to the neighborhood, Joey Zanaboni, who calls obviously the city games, big baseball commentator as well. Joey Zanaboni and Albert Pujols went over to Dubai to call some baseball games over there.
Was Joey calling the game? Or
Joey was calling the game, Pujols was color.
Wow, I did not know
was color
this.
commentator. Joey was play-by-play. And the insight, I was just talking to Joey, and it just seems like, I mean, the guy's he's obviously, in hearing him talk about it, and I've gone back and listened to some of it. I mean, that's the guy that I want to be for the Cardinals in a couple of years. That's the next manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. I know people want to have the Yadi thing. Fine. I've moved completely past Yadi, and I'm 100% onto this Pujols thing. He's not going to be a broadcaster, and again, this is his first time ever, and he was very good, kind of timid, but when he got into it, it was like, God, this guy's. Of course, these young players were obsessed with hearing him talk with the Cardinals his final year here. That's what if we're gonna get some hopium and get really stupid with this one, Albert Pujols is the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals before 2030. That's mine. That's my thing right now.
Albert Pujols here. I think that he would be a great manager. And it seems like too that he understands everything that comes with it, right? Like he understands that means a lot of talking to the media. He's talking to the media more, I feel like, and he understands the time commitment to it. With Yadi Molina, I think that would be a fair concern of how much he would be available.
Yeah, I think so. I was out on the Yadi thing the moment Adam Wainwright said, "I'm not a babysitter. I'm not going to get him." The moment that Adam Wainwright said that,
that was tough. That was really tough.
But again, and my point is that I'm not saying I'm out on Yadi Molina as a manager of the Cardinals or in Major League Baseball. I'm in on that 100%. But my mindset of waiting for it to happen, for it to be for the Cardinals, I no longer am thinking about that. That's no longer in my cards. That's no longer in my personal,
not something.
That's not that's not my list of my Magic 8 Ball anymore. my list of questions that I ask my Magic 8 Ball, that's no longer.
Okay, let's say hierarchy here.
Of the
rank of available
I
managers. Okay.
For my
All right, Joe Madden, Yadier Molina, Albert Pujols, or Skip Schumacher to be the next manager of the Cardinals.
Oh.
And chat, you can weigh in on this too. Those are out of all of those, okay? To be the next man. And Ollie, if you're listening, we're not saying like right now, okay? Like I'm just saying in the future, when you are done with your career, and hopefully it will last a very long time here in St. Louis, I'm saying if that just happened to be available, who would be the picks, or who would be the pick?
The answer should be Skip Schumacher, but again, I was born.
You're gonna go with Albert.
I was born and raised in South City, and the first, it's Albert Pujols. That's my top answer. It'd be Albert Pujols 100% of the time.
Yeah,
100% of the time. It's Albert Pujols. Are you kidding me? The man's a baseball god.
Eric Cleveland says, I think with the attendance issues, they need to hire like Albert Pujols. So it's interesting. Yesterday, low attendance once again. I think I saw that the total attendance for yesterday was 21,306.
It was cold.
Low
it was
attendance. Now, today, we don't even know if they're going to play today. Lineup is out. I already looked at it, so sadly we cannot play the lineup game. But when you guys talked about this yesterday, what was kind of the overwhelming answer of why people are not attending games? Are they still just kind of waiting it out? They're just completely done with the organization until something changes? But what exactly are they looking to change that will get them bought back into the organization where they're coming to games more?
I think that there's a collective building anger. Like I was saying earlier, I think that the people started realizing that this organization wasn't running like it used to run for the previous 30 years, or maybe even just 15 years, or whatever time frame you want to put on it. People were noticing it wasn't starting to do that in 2019. And I think that apathy set in. I think that's what last year was. And I think a combination of the facts of the world we live in right now, which is we got a lot of comment yesterday about the economic downturn. And how, and my point was that there's a lot of indicators deep in the economy right now that they say is always, certain things go up, certain things go down. They're always like, these are the things that go up and down when we hit a recession. And all those numbers are trending that way right now. And so you add the economic factor, people brought up the crime factor, people brought up the ownership factor. Somebody said that most people don't know the name of the owners, and so they're not actually mad about that. I think that just especially here in the Midwest, the just ethereal ownership. You don't even need to know who. You don't need to know that it's the DeWitt family to be mad at ownership if you're a Cardinal fan, I think. And so I think there's a lot of contributing factors, which is why, because we looked at 2017 or 2018, it was a year where they were coming off an 83-win season, and they had missed the playoffs the 2 previous years. Literally a perfect facsimile for 2025. And they were pulling in the second series, the first like Monday, those kind of things. We were looking at similar comparisons, and it was 40,000, 43,000. Completely different. And that was 2017, 2018. And the only material difference, other than I think those series were like on Thursday and Friday instead of Monday and Tuesday. So there's a material difference, is that, and tell me if I'm wrong here, this is against the Angels. All of the first 3 series in 2017 or 2018, I can't remember which season it was now. I think it was 2017. All 3 series that we were looking at were against NL Central teams. It was a Cubs series, a Brewers series, and a Red series.
Which does help.
And I wonder how much different that is for a Twins series and then an Angels series right off the opening day series.
So the change.
So there was a
with
lot
the
of
balance
factors.
schedule.
The
balance
or
schedule.
just how it feels. How Cardinals fans are with playing NL Central teams that they have a visceral reaction to versus playing coastal teams they don't really give a hoot about. I mean, I don't know how many other fan bases have people still complaining about how there's too many interleague games, but I still hear that all the time in St. Louis.
I do think, and I've seen some people chime in on the
literally
chat.
an interleague game, no one showing up to play. It just, I wonder if that's a factor. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think there's a lot of things too that would get people back in. I don't doubt that if they hired Albert Pujols for any reason here soon, or if they would have done going into the season, that people would show up to see Albert Pujols. I totally agree with that. I think that we've talked a lot about apathy, right? The apathy with John Mozeliak, we talked about him getting booed earlier now on opening days, that fans are just really kind of over the John Mozeliak era, and they're ready to usher in a new one. But I think that apathy has grown to the ownership of them reducing payroll, and also kind of the admittance of, yes, we kind of didn't put a lot of money into our minor league system. I think those things, and I'm glad that they were actually able to identify that and say that. But then when fans hear that, they're like, wow, so you're just kind of admitting that you didn't put all that money into the resources that would have bettered your team.
Yeah, Ellipses 150 pretty much says all that lack of excitement, not worth spending the money to go downtown. Crime is issue, the economy. There's a combination of reasons. I agree 100% with everything you're saying there. I disagree a little bit here. Aaron Dobson, for me, it's the fact, really stretching out the usage of that word. For me, it's the facts that the DeWitts don't care about the fans or winning championships anymore. Mozeliak has to go today. Aaron, I wanted to read your text, despite the fact that legally, I'm pretty sure you can't say that, because I don't think it's a fact that the DeWitts don't care about the fans or winning championships. That's my issue with that comment. I feel like a lot of fans feel that way, but I feel like it's really odd to state that those are 100% facts. I don't feel that way. When I hear the DeWitts talk, I hear people who own a business who are being very realistic about the facts around their business. I don't hear sports owners who don't care about the fans or don't care about winning championships. I really just I don't hear that from the DeWitts. But you do, and honestly, that's what matters, because you're the one who's going to be buying tickets. And so if that's what you think, and that's what other Cardinals fans think, that is an important distinction. I don't agree, but if that's what you think, that's what's driving motive here. And that's what's driving money. And that's what's driving this conversation.
Somebody said earlier in the chat that we're getting sassy Rock today. And it's true.
When am I not?
I was going to say, like, when is Rock not sassy is the real question.
It's the only way I can react with things without my head exploding. Because if I'm not sassy, I'm going to get angry or just cynical. And then I'm just going to get sad. Mm-hmm. And that's not fun for anybody. And so you get this instead.
You get what do we even call this? So not sassy.
Sassy works. No, sassy works. Sassy's fine.
You like that?
I'm okay. With that.
Well, so
listen,
Aaron,
I wear full purple outfits. I don't care what word. Nothing you do is going to be like, oh, like no, am I assaulting your masculinity by calling you sassy? I couldn't care. It's the perfect word comment. It's exactly what I am. You can call me an ass. I'm also an ass, but sassy's more benign.
So Aaron follows up with, Bill DeWitt III laughed at the fans for not showing up. I will say, and we discussed that interview on the radio show. Remember, we were on radio show, but I think that the perception of that was not great. It was not great for him, the way that he kind of handled that interview. And I think that Build It with the Third, having been around him, not that I'm around him all the time or I know him perfectly, but he is more on the business side of things. And when I say business side of things, I'm talking about not even kind of the day-to-day operations, at least at that time of the interview too, the day-to-day operations of what's happening on the field. So I think that he's just kind of one of those more business technical guys rather than maybe of what would go over for some of the fans, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying? Have you guys ever met like some people in business where it's like socially, maybe they don't say the right things because they're so used to negotiations. They're so used to being basic.
It was a bad time to chuckle.
It was.
Again,
if he could do it over again, I'm sure he would.
I used to serve at mass, and I would do funerals, and my friends knew that I was.
You were the type that laughed during a funeral?
Only because my friends knew they could get me to go up by doing the littlest things.
Oh,
and so they were cruel, and so they tried to make me laugh. Listen, laughing at a bad time is a very bad thing. You guys ever watch Curb Your Enthusiasm? There's like 3 episodes every season that are based on the fact that Larry had a smirk when he shouldn't have, and then everyone's pissed off about it. Yeah, it was a really bad moment. Aaron Dobson, you're not wrong. It was a bad moment. But I think extrapolating that moment to a guy whose entire life has been the St. Louis Cardinals, so he doesn't care about the fans or winning, I think that's probably where I think your extrapolation's a little bit too harsh. But number one Blues fan, he put it exactly right. For me, it's not facts. It's perception, which honestly is more important. That's 100% correct because it's led to the apathy, which has led to the low seating. And again, I hate this idea that you're a bad fan if you don't support a bad ownership group. I don't agree with that. I'm a St. Louis Rams fan. That was my team, more so than any other team in this city, was the St. Louis Rams. And it was a weird argument when people were like, St. Louis is a bad group of fans because they're not supporting this team. Why should we have supported that team? In what world, now with the hindsight to look at it, why should we have supported the team? We shouldn't have. There should have been 40 people in the dome, given what they were giving back to us. So I'm not saying don't show up with your wallet. Show up with your wallet, fine. But there are factors on both sides of these things. I just think we need to have a little bit of nuance is all I'm asking for.
I do think that, this is a very fair point that a lot of people are pointing on the chat is that those comments stuck with them. And I understand that because I can see that it's really hurtful, especially when you heard that. When I heard that interview, that was the one with Martin that they're talking about.
Yeah,
correct?
It was bad.
Martin Kilcoyne.
It wasn't good.
It was not. I can understand why that did not go over with the fan base whatsoever. And then when you had the results on the field happening at the same time too, then it feels like a personal attack at that point. I think that at this point though, during the offseason, I do like and I do believe that behind the scenes, this was a DeWitt ownership decision to bring in different voices in the organization for so long. And I think Randy had that stat. I can't think of it off the top of my head of how long they've gone with actually not hiring someone at like a high level front office position from outside the organization. They've always promoted from within. Finally, they recognize, hey, we need to bring in somebody else. We can still have the Cardinals away, but bring in a different perspective. And that includes bringing in Chaim Bloom, Robert Cerfolio. And I know that with Chaim Bloom, people look at the Rays and they're like, oh, well, they're just trying to reduce payroll and stuff. I am happy with any organization that says, look, we messed up. We recognize that we did not spend the proper amount of money in our developing in our minor league system. We're going to try to correct that and work on that moving forward. From everything that I have seen and heard and read, they have allowed Cerfolio and Chaim Bloom to bring in some people and higher positions that they didn't have available at the moment where you could actually get the most out of these young players. So I'm glad that they're actually taking that step. And I think that was a DeWitt ownership position, but I understand the anger and frustration of why did they let it get to this point? You know what I mean? Of why they didn't invest into their development. Why couldn't they have done both where they had the payroll, but also develop at the minor league level? I think that is fair to really be upset about.
Can't see the forest through the trees. But that's why you need outside impact from people. You need people who come in and say, you're doing this wrong. Yeah. And that's why, and that's why I still think that was a bad interview, but I'd rather have my potentially socially awkward owner actually talk to the media instead of sending out some surrogate with pre-planned lines. I'd rather get a little honesty and a little, and some truth there, which can be annoying and sometimes bite you in the ass if you're the organization sending out the truth teller, but still, I hate when we get nothing at all from people. So yeah, that was bad. And I think it's funny here from Aaron Dobson, BDW3. That's a really clunky way to Shorten his name, my God. Has a silver spoon in his rear, and he needs to apologize to the fans. Okay, something I've realized now as being an adult. Adults suck at apologizing and taking criticism. So imagine if you were born to a millionaire, how much you'd be good at those things.
Jeff says, sell the team Bill. The grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Nope, don't do that.
Just look at the Mavs and the situation they're in currently right now. And I know that that's NBA, but sometimes the grass is not always greener on the other side, because Randy has brought this up before, and it's very fair to point out there's somebody who really has always been interested in owning a baseball team, specifically the Cardinals, and he was even named after Stan Musial, Stan Kroenke.
Yeah, I know. No, but yeah, we're not. The sell the team stuff is crazy. It would be smart for them because apparently sports teams are just auto profit right now, unless you're the Twins and you have a butt ton of debt for some reason. But still, Lipsy's 150 here. I mean, look at John Fisher. He has never said he doesn't care about the fans, but look at his actions as owner of the A's. He doesn't even try to hide that he isn't willing to spend money. Did you just log on to a computer and compare John Fisher to the DeWitt family? Because, man, there's a lot of things to complain about. That is bat crap, my guy.
That is what?
Bat crap?
Bat crap?
Yeah. Crazy, because I didn't want to say, because I know we can curse here, but I still feel awkward when I have a mic in front of me.
I was just like, bat crap.
I didn't want to say it. All right, bat shit. It's that is an insane comment. You cannot say what John Fisher did to show he doesn't care about the fans is comparable to what the DeWitts have done, and therefore that shows they don't care about the fans. Yeah, you don't need him to come out there and directly say it, but again, Ray came in here. I know people are already lighting up Ray, but he's right. Not a single Midwest team has a top 10 payroll. When your payroll is commiserate, lines up even, essentially, and it has for years, to the market level you are in the league, I don't know how fans can legitimately complain about the money, the amount of money being spent. Always complain about how the money's being spent. Always complain about that. Always hold their feet to the fire on how the money is being spent. That is a fair comparison. But to act like they haven't spent enough money is wrong.
They have, just not wisely.
Yes, they've sucked at spending money, but it's not that they haven't been cheap, and that's such a crazy way to come at this. Although Namu in the Lou, he has a burr in his saddle that Bill DeWitt III painted Adam Wainwright's portrait himself.
Wait, what?
Namu remember Bill DeWitt III gave Adam Wainwright a portrait that he painted.
Oh, I didn't know he painted it.
Yeah, because that's his thing. And so Namu in the Lou
is he like George Bush?
I'm glad that was your comparison.
Because have you not seen that George Bush will gift
I know what
people?
you're saying. But Namu in the Lou, he was complaining about it yesterday. He comes in here. I don't think Tom Stillman is working on a macaroni art project right now for Doug Armstrong's retirement.
Okay, that's good.
He is so mad about the painting. Thomas Welsh.
That's such a rich people hobby. And no, I know that paintings for everybody. But I'm saying, like, to be able to gift people the paintings.
Painting is a rich person hobby.
Because you gotta have time.
Direct shot at my middle class Italian grandpa.
Oh,
how dare you?
But I'm saying, like, where you can pick that up as like a hobby, just casually, and not be stressing about life.
Do you have a hobby?
Pickleball.
Okay. Do you have any other hobbies?
Tennis.
Do you have any non-racket based hobbies?
Hanging out with my dog.
Okay. I was just wondering, because hobbies are a weird thing. Hobbies are a weird thing when you hit your 30s. If you're not like into like hiking or something like that, like if you're not like in like a group of people that like do a hobby like on a regular basis, getting into hobbies is a weird thing to do in your 30s.
Well, what's your hobby then?
I'm trying to find some. I've been playing
golf, and then you go to the casino.
Yeah, I go. You can't call going to the casino.
That's a hobby, right?
If it's habitual enough to call it a hobby, it's a problem.
It's a lifestyle at that point.
Again, sure. I love going to the casino. I wouldn't call it a hobby. I would call it an interest. I think is the best way to phrase it. I still play probably too many video games, but I've loved that since I was a little kid. I'll be honest. If I'm gonna be, I'll be. Truth circle. No one tell anybody this. I'm thinking about getting into model kits.
Huh?
Model kits.
Even Wilson saying what?
Like, you guys don't know, like model cars, model planes.
Oh,
sit there with
wow.
with a little glue and X-Acto. I knew I was going to catch hell for this. I don't care. It sounds so peaceful. I'm not a puzzle guy because I hate that there's like nothing to do.
No,
with
they
it.
stress me out.
I don't like there's anything
They
to do with it
stress me
other than
out.
just like
They're not
throw it away
relaxing.
at the end and you just put it back in the box and it's like, well, I already did that puzzle. I'm never gonna do that puzzle again. So like puzzles aren't really my thing. I'm too competitive at board games and I anger people with my competitiveness at board games.
I think
and so I need
also
like
you
a
have to do
calming
it something on your own. Board games would require somebody else.
Exactly. It's a good point.
And King Bash says she had those hobbies, Rock. That baby is Brooke's new hobby.
Oh no, you still need to be a person. You need to still be a person even when you're a parent. That's such an important thing, I think, when you're a parent. I know it's hard, but you need to still be a person when you're a parent. And because that's important. Try disc golf. I don't need another thing that has me spending money and Lego. See? Okay. You're right. Listen. I was talking about model kits because I feel weird when I walk into the toy aisle at Target. And so I can't keep buying Legos because I feel very awkward. I feel like every time somebody walks by, I got to be like, yeah, my little cousin really needs this Star Wars set, even though it's 100% the set I want to get. So like I was moving from Legos to models because I feel like I have to mature a little bit. But listen, you hit the nail right on the head of like what kind of calming factor I have.
Ellipsis 150 says, I wasn't trying to compare the DeWitts to John Fisher. I will say, just kind of a side note, I don't know if you guys have seen the photo of the media area that they have for the A's currently. Have you seen that photo of like, it's basically like a shoebox that they put the media in?
No, but that's hilarious.
I'll find the photo and maybe I can bring that up tomorrow. But I will say I'm really disappointed, honestly, in the Players Association not pushing back more on what happened with John Fisher and the A's. When we're talking about the Players Association and how they're getting ready for this whole new CBA agreement, and maybe we'll have a salary floor and a salary cap, I am disappointed that the Players Association allowed all of this to happen, honestly. That was such a fail for the A's, those players who are just trying to have their careers, and the Players Association didn't step in that way. Even if you think about the White Sox, I mean, how terrible they were. And now the Players Association wants to chime in with the cap and the salary floor. I just think it's a little ridiculous that you kind of missed the mark on the A's, in my opinion. Just a side note, side rant.
I think that's a very fair rant. People are going for it here with the hobby comments.
A's media shed.
Pimp Daddy Mike 2.
Wow.
What possessed you to make a YouTube?
You know what? That reminds me. That's like a MySpace username. Like just a throwback. That's for RJ. Wait, how old are you, Wilson? Wilson, are you able to put yourself in a bubble since Rocchio can't be in a bubble anymore? You're what?
He didn't know. So he doesn't know what MySpace is. But the answer is he doesn't know what MySpace is. He's 25.
Oh,
so he doesn't know what
you're a
MySpace
Gen
is.
Zer, huh?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. You think so?
Are you willing to admit right now on camera and microphone what your first AIM screen name was?
Oh, you
don't have to. I completely understand if it's too embarrassing. No, I'm not going to admit mine.
I think literally it was not creative. I think it was like Tennis Babe 92.
Nice. Yes.
Like
okay.
That. I think it was something like that.
I also that's such a perfect right down the middle answer. What I was expecting. What a great answer from Brooke.
Here's the thing. I like to play tennis, and so that's what I went with. Also, we had no business as millennials. If you're a millennial, chime in with the things that you saw on AIM. We had no business being on AIM. There were some weirdos on that place.
Also, here's the thing. I got on AIM. It's like 2002, 2003, and immediately realized that AI chatbots are dumb. So listen here, new generation, you flipping losers. We figured that out 23 years ago that AI chatbots are stupid. Stop playing with them, you absolute brain rotted weirdos. God. AIM is AOL instant messaging.
You don't even know.
And I will come across this table and slap you.
He didn't have to deal with dial-up internet. I just realized that. He didn't have to deal with dial-up internet where your mom would all of a sudden be on the phone and it would disrupt your internet connection.
No. I remember. I'm just very mad at Wilson right now.
Do you know what a floppy disk was used for?
Oh, Brooke. Oh my God.
I feel so old. You're 25. You're younger than us.
We're doing this to ourselves. We shouldn't. We walked into this.
What's another thing?
I'm not trying to age myself more.
What was
Brooke,
your first cell phone?
Oh God.
My first cell phone was a Samsung Galaxy. I didn't get one until I was 14 in high school.
So you never experienced a Nokia, like the brick, like Nokia.
I know what Nokia is. I'm pretty sure those things are.
I don't know why.
Safe now.
I don't know why, but you telling me that your very first cell phone was a smartphone really affected me. That hit me right in the chest.
Because I had a Nokia. Do you know what the Oregon Trail is? People want to know on the chat.
Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, Wilson?
Do you know what the Oregon Trail is?
I've heard of it.
Okay, wait. Hold on. Sorry.
What?
We have to stop the show for a second. Do you know what the real Oregon Trail was?
I'm blanking on it right now. So no.
We are putting you on the spot. We're putting him on the spot. This isn't fair.
No. This is completely fair. Wilson, you have to know what the real Oregon Trail was. Okay. Do you know who Lewis and Clark were? Okay,
come
thank
on.
God. I'm just listen. That was not a crazy question, considering his knowledge of us going west clearly isn't what it needs to be. Do you know what the Donner Party is? No way. That hasn't. Wow.
When we were in my school, they stopped teaching us after like.
They stopped teaching you. They just. You just didn't go to class anymore after a certain grade.
Are you an unschooler? That's a new craze now. Is unschooling.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty unschooled. My own history lesson probably would be like about DC and Marvel stuff. So.
Oh man, like listen, those are important topics. I'm not gonna lie, but like you have to know. I feel like Donner Party is like regular, like American trivia. Like you just know who the Donner Party is by the time you hit 18,
the first,
right?
Like crime-ish story, or not? Well, like I like true crime.
Like, yeah, but like mysteries, you kind of learn.
But it was like one of those first stories that you heard of history-wise, where you're like, oh wow, that's crazy, and then you think about it for the rest of your life.
Ellipsis 150 is diving into a part of the internet that is like right in my pocket. Ellipsis 150 is you're at the oldest, you're 37 is my guess. At the youngest, you're 32. I remember websites back in the day like E-Bombs World, Stupid Videos, Funny Junk. This was before the days of YouTube, Reddit, TikTok, etc. Hold on, Wilson. Do you know what the Noma video is, or Numa video is? Brooke, do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, this is just.
Do you know who
25?
Old Greg is? I'm Old Greg. He doesn't know. I remember when Old Greg, that was like one of the first YouTube videos. You remember? And we were all fascinated by it at school.
Wilson, finish the phrase. I want waffle fries.
What?
Oh no.
For free. God, this is I'm not surprised by any of this because this is really deep cut stuff.
I thought I had more time before I felt this old.
8 years is 8 years that big of a difference?
He's
only 8 years younger than us.
Because so like what were like the big things that you grew up with as a Gen Zer then? Like video wise, website wise?
Well, video wise, it was like YouTube obviously, and then like MTV was still a thing. Like
what did you watch on YouTube?
Well, mostly for me it was like old Cartoon Network, Disney Channel, like
this is
River Adventures of Bill and Mandy was like I could tell you that like or like Hannah Montana's that.
Okay. Okay.
Easily,
okay.
You said the first one and I didn't know.
I have no idea.
Oh my God. I'm very confused. Like I can't decide which one I want to like focus more on.
Ellipsis says, yes, Ellipsis has to be around like my age at least.
31,
have you ever
31.
drank Bailey's from a shoe before? Okay, we have to film his reaction to watching Old Greg.
Yes.
And he won't understand that we thought this was the funniest thing we've ever seen. It was like a whole series.
What about Ouch Charlie?
Oh yeah,
come on. I mean, there was some weird, but there like early internet was a weird. Like you think imagine if like every website was 4chan. That's what 2005 on the internet was. Like every single website was a collection of absolute just like giga weirdos, and then just every suburban kid in the world learning about stuff they absolutely should not know yet. And that's why I don't want to focus here on the media stuff. I want to focus here on the fact that you don't know what the hell the Oregon Trail was. That really bothers me. I know I'm really focusing on this, but okay. So the Oregon Trail it started in Independence, Missouri. We're in the state where it started, Wilson. What's wrong with and then it was the path. It was a lot of different paths. It was the path that you took on a wagon from Independence, Missouri to California, and that's how we settled the West. And now you learned a little history, and I'm just yes, I'm glad you know that. The Donner Party died because they got stuck in a mountain pass and it snowed and they ate each other. And the fact that you didn't hear that story at 14 completely affected how you grew up. Like, I don't know, how do you grow up in America without knowing that there were cannibals in this country on accident 100 years ago? How do you just like
cannibal?
How do you work through life without
interesting.
having that fact available to you? I don't know how you did it, but apparently you made it.
Do you know? Oh my! Do you know what LimeWire is?
In one ear and out the other.
He doesn't even know what LimeWire is.
Yeah, Blues fans asking, did you use Napster? Have you paid for music ever in your life?
Did you steal music and burn it on a CD ever in your life?
Well, CD, no, I was way too young for that stuff.
Okay, but you at least knew.
Music, I will defer to my lawyer about that.
Smart move, man. He's good. Bear Share, WinMix, LimeWire. I was a FrostWire guy. Seems like it had a lot less.
I was LimeWire.
FrostWire had a lot less problems compared to what LimeWire was. Bear Share was good though. Bear Share was good because pretty sure Bear Share was also like a full-on torrent of like videos, like video games and things like Bear Share. I feel like I was getting more than just music off that.
Yeah.
Or the people who were using it.
Pimp Daddy Mike 2 said it would take an hour to download one song on LimeWire. And it was a big deal because you had your CDs and you would have different versions of CDs that you would need to do.
But how about the fact that you would download the song after an hour and then you'd go to play the song and it was not the song you wanted to download,
Yeah.
even though the title of the video when you download it would be Blink-182, Say It Ain't So, Say It Ain't So, Say It Ain't So, Blink-182, real version, Blink-182, live version, real version, Blink-182, true, no viruses. And then you'd play it and it was Sum 41. And I know, again, I'm using words you don't understand, but they were bands.
This is probably like a different language at this point.
That's
okay,
God.
Good but yeah, I just remember specifically it was because of LimeWire and because of burning CDs. So like say for prom, you would make like a prom CD off of LimeWire. This is how I found out that my first boyfriend was cheating on me because because he made so back in like the romance days of burning a CD, you would, if you had a boyfriend or something like that, you would burn a CD of songs that remind you of your partner. So he did that for me, and I thought these were specially handpicked songs for me. I found out.
No, he made it for other people.
I was in another girl's car, and then I saw that she had the exact same CD with his handwriting. And that's how I found out he was cheating on me, because he had burned her the exact same CD. Apparently he did it for a bunch of girls, and it was the same songs, everything.
Listen,
cold-hearted.
Yeah, that's a bad move. By the way, Real American Intelligence, he's out. Okay, the show has gone off the rails. Bye. Sorry, we couldn't help ourselves. We'll try to, we'll steer it back into we'll steer it back with a very late Grim report, because we got a text from somebody, because we were talking about the Blues early in the game.
We're doing this now?
We're not really doing this, but Chad Harrington.
The cameras are going out.
And the cameras are going out, so we got to go ahead and wrap up the show.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up. Well, it was nice talking to you guys, and we'll figure out maybe one day what Wilson has experienced. If he's experienced anything like we have, he won't experience the pain and heartbreak of finding a burned CD. We do have Cards Hub 365
post-game
maybe coming up if we have a game today, is the big question.
Post-game's supposed to be around 3,
and
but
who will be on that? Will you be on it?
I was on Cards Hub 365 earlier today
for the pregame.
So for the pregame show, which we are able to actually hit with some consistency on the other side. So with the rain coming in, and I don't know, let's do a little bit of I know weather can be a little bit risky here. But I mean, everything looks about what we've been talking about, what we talked about in Cards Up 365. Storms rolling in, 65 to 50, 65, 70% coverage of the area around 2 p.m., 3 p.m. So it's going to get a little bit risky. I'm not sure if we're going to see the Cardinals get one in anyhow, but if they do, right here on Sports Hub STL, presented by Hot Shots, hotshotsnet.com. You can catch the Cards Hub post game whenever it happens tonight, because I'm pretty sure one way or another these teams will be finding a way to get in the game, no matter how late it is. They both have off days, but they have to get some travel in. Mm-hmm. So whether or not it's 9 p.m. or 10, this game will, I feel, get played by hook or by crook tonight.
It needs to happen. Jimmy Crooks. Bring up Jimmy Crooks. Thank you guys for joining us. Randy Carrick will be back tomorrow, so you don't have joining us, and we will see you tomorrow.